I want to do another, oops, sorry for the wobbles, I will not touch the table anymore because then that will happen. Anyhow, another inspirational video, and this one is on letting go, and then finding out after some time that actually, in spite of all the work you've done on the letting go, you still are not moving, you still are stagnant, and why the hell that can happen. It is a possibility. It doesn't mean to say that this goes for all of you, but it might help you. Right? That's why I'm recording this video. Anyhow, I had a similar thing myself, of course. That's why I'm recording this, because I like to share these things when I find out, like, dang, why did I never see that, right? And then I feel like recording it because I'd like to help you on your path and growth and all that stuff as well. Anyhow, I'm also quite stuck at the moment with well, basically everything in my life, and that's because I don't know where to go, what to do, what, you know, and I'm at another crossroads, I suppose, in my life, and in a way I'm okay with it because I know I need to take this time for my own growth. I needed growth to get to yet a higher level, and yeah, but at some point I felt like, why is it taking so long? I've rested enough now. Every time I draw a card, it's like, rest, heal, rest. And it's like, I don't. So I decided to take some time and to sit with it. Also because of my health, because my neck issue, the results of that is basically having really bad tinnitus and getting dizzy easily. And I've had that neck injury since 2012, or then it got worse because then I had a second accident. I've had a whiplash before, but it was getting worse. And I didn't really understand because it's not like I'm doing an awful lot of physical work that is taxing to my neck. So I thought, well, there must be another reason for it then, you know. And so I looked into it. I asked a couple of other people, and yeah, it all boiled down to inner conflict, and not paying heed to messages and that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, how the hell is that the case? Because I do feel I am listening to messages or am open to receiving messages. So what the hell is going on? And I sat down, opened a Word file, and I began to write down how in certain situations, how I can feel sometimes, right? What I fear, what doesn't, the stuff that isn't good, that. And so that could be anything like not believing in yourself, feeling you're not worthy, fearing you get rejected, or feeling rejected, or not loving yourself enough. That kind of stuff is what you would be looking for when you write down your feelings concerning an issue you've got to get clarity. And you only write down these points, short and sweet. Not whole stories, not pages long, because then you get lost in the story. And sometimes that's good to do as well if you want to ventilate. But right now we do not wish to ventilate, we wish to get clarity. So you don't want to get lost in these stories. You don't want to write entire stories like, then my mother did this and then a friend did that, and I am so... No, you don't want that right now. You just want these points, clarity. So I wrote down a number of points, and then I thought, okay, right, great news. I knew that already, you know, story of my life. I'll get to the stories in a minute, because that's also something you have to work on, telling a different story. And so that means also not saying anymore that this is the story of my life, you know, because that keeps you there as well. But then I thought, okay, wonderful, and now what? And I thought, well, what's actually my own part in this, all this happening, in situations like social settings, or maybe when dating, or in a love relationship, or in any kind of connection, you know, again, if you want to do this, it just depends what your quest is, what your issue is, and in what area. But it is important to look at your own behavior in these situations when you feel the things that you wrote down with the first, with number one. When you, for instance, feel rejected, or when you don't feel heard and seen, and you or feel that you don't have confidence or feel shy, then what is your own behavior in the situations when you feel that way? And that can be quite confronting to look at these things. I felt resistance as well myself. I didn't really want to go there, but it is taking responsibility. It is important to do that step as well. So I did that. I wrote it down, like what my own behavior was in these situations when it happened or before it happened. And can be quite confronting, but also good, because then you can start to see, like, well, maybe if I don't do this, if I don't react this way, or if I, then maybe it won't happen, because often we evoke these things ourselves with our own energy. And the energy that we have that surrounds us, your energy surrounds you, right? That hinges on how you feel about yourself. And the way you feel about yourself can be different in different settings. Like for women, I know that even if you feel very confident and good and believe in yourself in every area of your life, that when it comes to love, then all of a sudden this can just drop like a brick. That all of a sudden you feel you don't deserve a good man, or it's gonna go wrong again, and I'm not worthy, and oh my God, and that even when you're confident in every other area of your life. But it can also be that you are confident with your friends, with socializing, going out, and not so much, for instance, on the work floor or whatever. It can be different in various situations. Of course, you want it to always be good in any situation, regardless, but I'm just telling you this, it can be different. Anyhow, I wrote that down, my own behavior, taking responsibility, and then I left it at that for a bit, because it can be quite emotional, the things that come up. And for me, then all the cogs start churning, and I know stuff is gonna happen, right? And things are set in motion, and then sometimes you just have to take a step back and just wait and do something else entirely, and then all of a sudden, dang, you will get something else come up. And then I wrote that down too. And that's how I then thought of, like, okay, now what is actually the biggest disadvantage of me behaving that way, or reacting that way, and me feeling that way? And the biggest disadvantage in the sense of the consequences of these first two things, of the way you feel and the way you then behave and react based upon those feelings, right? The consequences of that for yourself, in a way. And what I then found was, like, right, story of my life, in a way. Anyhow, that can be various things again, of course, right? Depending on your quest and your own personal situation and path and the work you've done, etc. And I'm glad I can laugh about this, actually. It can be, for instance, like maybe the biggest disadvantage for you is that you take things personally, because of how you feel and behave and what happens in the situations, that you begin to take things personally, and maybe even you lower your standards, meaning you settle for less, and that's never good, right? And that you just put up with stuff that you shouldn't put up with. And it can also be that you then start comparing yourself to other people. Also not a very good place to be, because you never really, when you do that, you never really live up to that, right? You're always less and they're always better, and in whatever way than you are. And it doesn't have to be that way, but that's how you're gonna see it. So that's also not very good to do. So that's kind of a few examples of what you can experience as the biggest disadvantage, the consequences of these first two things. And yeah, okay, and then I actually let this simmer again for a little bit, and then I thought, and why the hell is this still happening? Because I have worked on all these things for years, and I've grown so much. I have become far more confident and strong and empowered and so on and so forth. So why are things still not moving? And then all of a sudden it hit me like, damn, my actions are not always congruent with how I feel about myself. Which means that I still have to do more work, right? Because if it is rock solid, then the actions would automatically follow suit. But so this is a very, very good thing to look at. If you have done a lot of work, and with things, it could be just aspects of your life. It doesn't have to be with everything in your life, but with aspects of your life, you still are not moving. Then look at if your actions in that area are congruent with your, well, how you thought you felt about yourself concerning that. And maybe you actually do up to a point, but maybe not enough just yet. Because you have to remember that these things work in layers, right? It's like onions that you peel off. It's not like if you have a trauma, an issue, and we all do, it's not, you don't have to be ashamed or embarrassed about that or anything. We all have inner child problems and stuff from our childhood wounds. So that's quite normal. I think it would actually be abnormal to not have those. But to heal these, to get rid of these, that takes time, and because it works in layers. It really works in layers. And then first you get the outer layer or part of it, and then the next one or part of it. Sometimes you can't even remove an entire layer in one go. It really seriously takes time. And for me, I feel that I am actually now at the point where I'm getting to the core of the matter, because that's how it feels. Is I have really removed so many layers already, because I've been working on all these issues for so long, and yeah, and sometimes stuff happens while you're busy with that. I mean, I started with this in 2005. And so 14 years ago, but sometimes during these years, something new gets added to it, right? And then you have to brush that away, clean that as well. So it's not like, okay, you peel off layers and that's it. But because you're still living life, you're not living on a mountain as a hermit. So stuff happens to you, and that sometimes adds to it again. That touches it. And I have found that usually it then is on a deeper layer, right? Because you have done a lot of work already. But that's why you can sometimes feel like, is it ever going to be done? That you keep noticing that you do stuff and you make progress, and then a few years later, sometimes even, you end up in the same damned situation again, and then you think like, how is this possible? I've read this chapter already, But that's why you often then get to a deeper layer, and that's good, because it does mean you have made progress, right? But anyhow, if you have a similar thingy that you feel like, I've done so much work already and now I'm back there again, how is this possible? Or I've done so much work and I'm not moving in spite of that. Look at if your actions are congruent with the work you've done, the result of the work you have done, because that is really important. And it could mean that you have to do more work, but it can also be that you automatically step in when you go out into the world. when you go to work or when you socialize with friends and family, that you automatically step into the old routine. And that's something that you have to be mindful of. Like you have to change then as well if that doesn't match the new you, the new thing, right? Because sometimes it really happens automatically without meaning that you haven't gotten anywhere, but you just automatically stay in that rut. Then you have to do something about that. Anyhow, I will record another one about I think, about the telling a different story. I'm gonna quit now because this has gotten long enough. And I hope it was helpful to you. And see you again. And have a wonderful weekend. Bye.